All right, guys, welcome back. EYL Nostalgia edition. Yeah, for sure. So if you've been rocking with Earn Your Leisure, you know that if you're a day one supporter, day one listener, you know that the first 10 out of 12 episodes that we did, something along those lines, we didn't have any guests. We had a whole format of how we created Earn Your Leisure, and it wasn't built on guests. No. It was built on case studies and breaking down trending topics like in like pop culture that's related to business, telling stories. It was a whole thing that we had, and it really became really popular. People liked it, and we kind of just fell into having guests by default. Yeah. So like I said, it was inevitable. It was inevitable to have guests. So we just had it. Then we just fell in love with having guests, and we just been doing that ever since for months and months and months. But everywhere we go, all of our day one listeners and supporters have always asked, like, can we get at least one episode how it used to be without any guests?
We miss y'all, man.
This is it.
This is it. The originators are back.
Yeah. So
we're back to where we started.
Next week we'll be back with our regularly scheduled guests. We got a lot of dope interviews with different guests in the oven, but we wanted to bring it back to where it originally started. We actually kind of missed the format, and it was actually really dope. So
it took me back to the times where it was like, yo, Tuesday, let's have a meeting. What we're gonna talk about. Thursday, let's finalize it and come up with the ideas. And Saturday, let's just shoot. It's like that routine kind of changed now, but it's good to come back to it, man, because we always gonna have ourselves.
Yeah, man. It's like riding a bike. It's like
we always gonna have ourselves.
But this is something I'm excited about because we got a lot to talk about, and wanted to just kind of just break it up a little bit and just give you guys us.
Yeah, man.
So that's what we're gonna do this episode. But before we start, by the time you guys hear this, it'll be like a few days until our big DC takeover.
DC, man.
And that's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. I ain't even gotta talk about it too much. We talk about it so much, but there's a few tickets left for the workshop. VIP is sold out. By the time you hear this, we might be able to get a couple more tickets. I don't know, but workshop, we still have some tickets, a couple tickets available for that. And it's gonna be a vibe, man. We're looking forward to it.
We're gonna put the list of people who gonna be there.
Yeah, everybody's gonna be there, man. Max Maxwell, Ash Cash, Wall Street Trapper, Rashana Scott, Mobile Homes Elite, MG, the mortgage guy, Andy from Y2K Credit Solution, Derek Falcon from Homemade, Sabine the Purpose Attorney, Miss Business. Oh, it's gonna be crazy. Yeah. So
that's like 12 episodes in itself.
Yeah. So like I said, we gotta plug it. Hopefully we see you there. If not, we catch you in the next one. We're gonna release information on the next one pretty soon. But all right, so we're gonna jump right into this episode with a trending topic. Yeah, something that actually we put it on Instagram like a month and a half ago, and we asked like, should we cover this? And overwhelming,
it's like 400 responses.
Everybody wanted us to cover it, but we just didn't have enough time because.
Yeah, you called. I remember you put it up on like a Thursday, and like Friday you were like, "Yo, we got to cover this on Saturday." And I'm like, "Yo, we got a few people lined up we got an interview. I don't know if we can do it." We're like, "Yo, let's do it on Instagram Live." I'm like, "Nah, this needs more than live. This needs a segment."
Yeah, so we didn't really have time, but we just kept it in the back burner. So we're gonna cover that in the first segment. We're gonna cover that, and it regards fashion, licensing, ownership, trademarking, all that stuff. And then in the second segment, we're going to talk about multiple streams of income.
Important.
EYL's multiple streams of income. So we're going to give you the blueprint, and full transparency is our whole theme. And then the third segment, we're going to talk about some different financial topics that people a lot of times aren't fully aware of.
No clue.
May not understand.
No clue. Like, and we're going to test your expertise, man. Like, this questions I had. I'm like, we've never even had these conversations, so it's going to be dope. I get to throw some questions at you.
So this is gonna be a good one, man. So let's jump right into it. So first and foremost, Kanye West. That's
our brother. We can't throw him away.
Yeah, Kanye West. You went to his concert.
I go to I've been to a number of his concerts. I remember the first time I saw him, he was opening up for Usher on a Confessions tour. Yeah. That's how far back I've been.
Well, you went to his most recent concert.
Yeah, I was at
in LA. Jesus is King.
We told that story on live. Yeah, I went to Sunday service, man.
Yeah, you went to Sunday service.
It was a moment.
Because we was at Complex Con. Me, Mike, Jamal, you. We was at Complex Con in LA in Long Beach. Yeah. And he had his show, and you bought tickets to the show for all of us.
Yeah, man.
And
good guy.
You was about to go. It was in Inglewood, and you got in the Uber. And nobody else got in.
Yo, listen, let's paint this picture. It was like 3:00. I'm like, yo, this show starts at at 4. Like, I'm calling this Uber right now, guys. It's a 45-minute ride to Inglewood. Y'all coming with me? Everybody's like, ah. I was like, I'm calling the Uber. We all walked outside. I got in the Uber. I looked back. I saw y'all standing on the curb. I said, listen, I'm closing this door. This is going to be a one-man journey. And I looked, and y'all took 2 steps backwards, and I closed the door, and I said, I'm going.
Yeah, nah, it was a fact. Shout out to Kanye. No disrespect. Yeah.
They left me, y'all.
Just wasn't in the vibes. Just you gotta be mentally prepared for that.
And I'm not mad at it. I told you I doubled back. I came back. I was like, you know what? Some things you need to experience by yourself. I needed that, man. It was an emotional moment. So shout out to Sunday Service.
Shout out to you went by yourself. But shout out to Complex Con too. That was a dope event. But I say that to say we're gonna talk about Virgil Abloh.
Yeah.
Right. And Virgil, if you don't know, is he just recently took the head job at
the head designer of Louis Vuitton.
I think the men's line of Louis Vuitton, right?
Yeah, maybe.
And yeah, so he's big in fashion, obviously.
Yeah.
But before that, he's has a brand called Off-White.
Yep.
Off-White, if you're not familiar, is huge. It's one of these things where all of the rappers wear it, all of the athletes wear it, and it costs $1,000 for a t-shirt. It's crazy. It's like, Off-White is like a thing.
It's definitely a thing.
But so I mentioned Kanye West because Virgil comes from Kanye's tree. So when we talk about Kanye's tree, we talk about his musical tree, right? People that have come from him. So the Big Seans of the world, the John Legends of the world,
Kid Cudi
the Kid Cudis of the world. Yeah. These are all people that come from Kanye's tree.
We can put Drake in there.
No, we can't put Drake in there.
Got to.
No, we can't play with Drake like that. But so shout out to the 6 guard. So that's OD. So but music is crazy. His branches is crazy in music. But even more impressive is his fashion.
Yeah.
So people
I would say more impressive.
The people who come from under Kanye in fashion is Jerry Lorenzo.
Yeah, Fear of God.
Yep. Virgil Abloh, who we just spoke
Obviously
about.
Off-White, yep. Don C,
who worked the Jordan brand.
Yep.
And what else did he do?
He still has it, and he has the RSVP shop.
Yeah.
He has a couple of deals. He did a deal with the NBA where he licensed some of their stuff.
Yeah, Don C's
dope.
And Virgil and Kanye actually moved to
all of them. All
literally
of them.
for like 6 months, and they interned
at Louis Vuitton.
So it's crazy. So all right,
Louis Vuitton Don actually.
Louis Vuitton Don. Yeah, he got his whole name from that whole vibe. So what happens? Okay, so Virgil starts a company called Off-White, right? And Off-White blows up. Off-White becomes a really big thing. Yeah. And it's one of those things, like I said, where everybody's it's like you got to get an Off-White shirt.
Well, it started before. Like, he built the buzz because he had there was like this Pyrex vision, that fashion line that he had done. But he was putting it on other pieces of clothing. So you might see a Champion sweatshirt, but it had like the Pyrex stuff on it. So Pusha T, obviously that made sense, right? He's part of that crew, that conglomerate, that Kanye conglomerate. So they was wearing it, and then that Pyrex became a big thing. Like Jay wears it, now it's big. And then somebody saw the light in him. Yeah,
that's a fact. So Marcelo Braun, that's his name?
Burlon.
Marcelo.
Yeah, you got it.
Marcelo Burlon recruits him to come to Italy, right? And so he owns the New Guard Group.
Yeah, he has 2 partners,
which is a fashion conglomerate, right? So he takes him to Italy and he shows him their manufacturing factories. We start laughing because it's like when Kanye was on Sway and he was like,
"You don't got the answer."
He was talking and nobody really understood what he was talking about, and he was like, "I can't produce at this level. I can't produce." And they're like, "Why would you, like, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "You don't got the answer, Sway.
They only gonna give us t-shirts and hats."
And so he's like, and even Charlamagne was like, nobody really knew what he was talking about. He didn't really do a good job of explaining what he was talking about, but he was just saying like he didn't have the factories to produce. And it just didn't go over well, right?
So that sounds about accurate.
But it's crazy because it's like when Virgil, they said when he went there and he saw the factories. I don't know what these factories. It's like magical. It's like Willy Wonka in the chocolate factory. Yeah. So he saw these factories and he realized that he couldn't compete.
Yeah, he said it was a no-brainer.
Get down, lay down, type vibe. So he sells his company. And you know what's crazy is that, shout out to Dapper Dan, but when Dapper Dan was on the Breakfast Club, that's what really started this whole vibe. Because when Dapper Dan was on the Breakfast Club,
shout out to Dapper Dan,
and Charlamagne kept pushing him like, "Yo, why don't you just own your own joint? Like, why are you working for Gucci?
You've done so much for this company. You brought streetwear and couture together. Like, create your own thing.
Why don't you create your own thing?" So then he kept pushing him on that, and then Dap was like, "Well, what black designer owns their own outright, like on a high level, on a very high level. And he was like, Off-White, Virgil. And then he was like, does he?
Does he?
so then Charlemagne was like, well, what does that mean? What are you saying? He's like, I'm not saying anything. He's like, do your research.
I promise you. Like, as soon as I saw that.
And then 1 week later, this whole story comes out.
I was like, yo, I'm doing the research. And then we found this. I'm like,
surprise. It turns out that he doesn't own Off-White. New Guard Group owned Off-White, right?
A majority stake.
Majority stake.
Yeah.
So what happens is that he sold it to the New Guard Group. All right, it happens all the time. People sell their companies. But what makes this interesting is that he still has control over it in a certain way because he kept the licensing, right?
Yeah.
So this is very important. This is where the story gets interesting. So he sold the company to the New Guard Group, but he kept the licensing rights. Mm-hmm. So what happens is that New Guard was in control of development, distribution, and manufacturing.
Yep.
So they
pretty much everything,
right? But he was in control of licensing. So in order for them to put it in any store or to sell it effectively, they have to rent the licensing rights from him, and then they split. They didn't say what their agreement was as far as the split, but they split. Let's just say hypothetically, it's 50-50 split. And so he still makes money, but he's not actually doing anything, which actually works out for him because now he could focus his energy on running Louis Vuitton.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about licensing and trademarking is that he can do it with this one. And right now, this deal that he has with New Guard, and we'll talk about who they sold it to, is that this one's exclusive. But the next time, and like we said, we don't know the terms of the money in the contract. We don't know the terms of the years either. But as soon as this deal's done, he can license to New Guard. He can license to this person. He could do it as many times or with whoever he wants.
So the licensing thing is extremely, it's an interesting conversation especially when it comes to fashion, because people don't fully understand. Like, you know who's huge in fashion?
Tell him.
Disney.
Yeah.
You never really think about it like this. And shout out to Prince Darnell, another EYL alumni.
Yeah.
He was in a store, I think, like a month ago, and he did a whole Instagram clip about this. But Disney licensed their characters out
all the time,
all the time, especially fashion. They're real big in fashion. So we talked about like back in the day with Iceberg, with Goofy, with Goofy, and Goofy was on all the sweaters. They're not using Goofy just saying I want to use Goofy. No, you can't do that.
It's a sell on it.
You gotta license it.
They had Mickey too. I remember the sweater. Mickey had the wand. So they had Mickey, they had Goofy, Peanuts. They also licensed that, but it's like they have to pay to use those characters. Yeah, and the crazy thing is like, so when you go in the mall, because you see, especially now it's holiday time, you see a bunch of shirts with Snoopy, Mickey Mouse, especially Mickey Mouse. Yeah, Mickey Mouse, over. Minnie Mouse. They're huge. You never really paid attention, right? But if you go and you look at the tag, they're not going to say Disney. Right. You could go in Old Navy right now and find a Mickey Mouse t-shirt. Yeah. Or Urban Outfitters. And all of these different companies that put those characters on it, they have to pay Disney. Yeah. Right? So they license their characters out on fashion. They license other stuff out too. They license music. Yeah. They like the Netflix. Right. Like and movies. Before they started their own streaming service, all of the Marvel catalog was on Netflix. Right. Netflix is paying Disney big money to use that. It's the reason why now, like with Disney Plus, that all like Black Panther's not on Disney Plus yet, or like Star Wars: The New Hope is not on Disney Plus yet, because the licensing agreement hasn't run out. As soon as it does, that'll be on Disney Plus. Netflix will never see another Disney product. Yeah, so it's the same thing with fashion, and some of your top favorite designers, they don't own. Right. Yeah, it's like you think they do because it's the name. Yeah, but larger corporations like the New Guard Group, they own it, right? So this happens all the time. Also, we talked about as far as even in real estate. So Trump. There's a guy. Donald Trump. In New York City, like, especially maybe 10 years prior to today, when you drove down the West Side Highway, it was nothing but buildings that said Trump Tower, Trump Tower, Trump Tower, Trump Tower. He doesn't own the building, the land itself. He just licensed his name to put on the building, which in turn people associate with a lifestyle. It's like, this is high luxury. I'm living in the Trump Tower. I have money. I have high luxury. There's a certain lifestyle that comes with it. Yeah, he did that probably the best, honestly. Yeah. I mean, hate it or love it, but you got to always look at a business case study, right? You got to take emotions out when you're looking at business. So whether, politics is very divisive. So whether you love them, whether you hate them, whatever, you got to look at the business model behind it, right? Like all of this stuff from his ties, a lot of his golf courses,
all of those buildings, those Trump Tower, very few of those does he actually own.
The casino too.
He licensed his name. People pay him because he built a brand around Trump, the name Trump. And now it's like, okay, just the name on itself, I can make money via value. Mm-hmm. So this is what makes the Virgil deal interesting, because it's like, okay, like we said, people sell their companies all the time. We talked about Kylie Jenner recently selling 51% of her company. So he sold the company, but he also is making money on the back end because he licensed it, right?
Yeah, that's one of the things they said, especially in fashion. If anyone's trying to start something, owning the trademark is probably the most valuable thing you can have in fashion, because that lives on forever. Like this lease agreement that you might have, eventually they're renting, but that lives on forever. As soon as that agreement's done, you can find 7 different partners to now license with, and then that lives on in perpetuity. It's like, keep that. You know what he does? He owns his masters. We always talk about music. Yeah, Virgil owns his masters.
But now what happens is that, so New Guard Group gets brought. So what happens, okay, so Virgil has to deal with New Guard Group, right? And he sells him a large percentage of the company, but he keeps the licensing agreement, right? They do all of the work. They manufacture it, they distribute it, they do everything. He gets paid, and they have a good relationship, I'm assuming, right? But now New Guard Group gets brought by G3. Which is another fashion conglomerate company. Yeah. So now this is where it becomes a little complicated, because it's like, okay, it's like a record label. We had Mickey Fax on, we saying he got dropped by one record label, or his record label got acquired by another record label, right? So it's like you might have a good understanding with an executive at RCA, but now
Sony bought y'all.
Yeah, so now it's a whole different, relationship. Yeah. So it's the same thing with this, right? So it's like, okay, you might not be on the same page, right? Because now you got the company that you sold it to got acquired. Right. So I'm assuming that, obviously Virgil's seasoned, and I'm assuming he has good counsel, and he's around good people that's giving him good advice, and he's knowledgeable himself. So now what you do is you put a termination clause in. Yeah,
a termination provision, really. So it's like, what that means is like, if a brand or if the company decides to put out stuff that does not represent the brand any further, then he has the right to say, you know what, we don't want to do business anymore. Since you've sold the company and we lost our agreement, if you can't match what our expectations going forward, if we're not a high luxury brand and going forward, we end up in like a TJ Maxx or something, our deal's terminated.
Yeah, it's very important. So that's very important, because you always gotta, I always give the analogy of like when you go to the movies, like before a movie starts, they always say like, this is the exit. Right, when you get on a plane, before the plane takes off, they tell you where the exit rows are, and they tell you like the procedure, like if an emergency happens, right? So if you really on point, when you go to any building, you always got to recognize the exit before you, because it's like getting out is more important than getting in. Mm-hmm. You have to identify the exit, preferably before you even get in. Right. Because you don't want to get somewhere and you don't know. Then you got to kind of like walk around the room, where's the exit? So if you like presidents, right? They already mapped out the exit strategy before they actually get in. That's the Secret Service's job. So in business, it's no different. Before you do a deal, you got to figure out the exit strategy. Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't go bad, but you always got to think, what if it does, right? It's like getting a prenuptial agreement when you get married.
What's that?
Well, hopefully you never have to use it. But just in case, 50% chance that it doesn't work out, you got your walking papers already established. So that's extremely important for entrepreneurs. And this is a very high level case, but any level of businessship, partnership, whenever you are doing business with somebody, you always got to have an exit built in, because if not, now you get screwed.
Yeah, you're gonna get stuck or dropped.
Yeah, and G3, so they also own Donna Karan, right? Yeah. So the Donna Karan story is interesting as well, because
that's like the flip side of the Virgil situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like, she didn't license her name.
Right. She didn't license her name, and she got acquired. She actually got acquired by LVMH.
LVMH. Shout out to Wall Street Trapper. We talked about that in episode
LVMH. 40, and they just 44. Did a deal with Tiffany's. They just bought Tiffany's for $16 billion.
LVMH, one of the largest companies in the world.
The largest. High fashion, high luxury.
Well, one of the largest.
Yeah. Well,
Apple's the largest.
Right. I'm talking about fashion.
Oh, fashion. Yeah, for sure. So LVMH, like I said, we talked about that in episode 44 of Wall Street Trapper. But they own Louis Vuitton, Hennessy, Moet, a bunch of different stuff. Yeah. Tiffany's now. Yeah. They own a long list of high fashion and just high lifestyle items. Yeah. So she sold her company to them in 2000 for $450 million.
That's a lot of money.
But that took her out the game, right? But they still use her name.
Yeah, she sold her brand and her entity. So Donna Karan International, which encompasses DKNY and everything else that comes with Donna Karan.
Yeah. But now, so they sold it to G3, another G3 acquirer, in 2015 for $650 million.
So they made 200.
So they made 200 mil.
But during that, like when they sell it, she steps down. Right, so she steps down from her position. I think when she sold it to LVMH, she stayed on as head designer. 2015, she steps down. So now she has nothing to do with the brand.
Nah, she's done. But the brand still makes money.
The brand's super profitable. Right, like last year, I think 570 million in profit. She gets none of it, and she has no say in a brand that has her name. It's like she could walk into any store and say Donna Karan, and it's like, wait, they made that, and she could do nothing, even though it has her name on it. She can't use it.
That's interesting because, like I said, a lot of times people don't fully understand, like when they just see headlines in the news. But these are things that I think any entrepreneur can learn from, because it's like, okay, it's a very savvy move that he did, where he sold the company, but he kept the licensing rights, right? So now he's still going to make money in perpetuity as long as he keeps that agreement.
The next deal going to be silly.
And as long as the company keeps growing, now he can renegotiate next time and get even more.
Yeah, because and that's the thing. It's like when you see, this is an exclusive deal. So like you'll see Off-White, like they just did the IKEA drop. Did you see that? They put the Off-White IKEA furniture.
Nah, I heard about it.
It was crazy. So like that sells out like that. Like the brand just grows. Once this deal is over, whenever it is, like can you imagine the lineup of people who are coming to knock on that door to use the licensing? It's gonna be ridiculous. He could do it, like right now it's exclusive, so he can only use through New Guard, but I can't imagine like what's gonna happen when he's a free agent and it's like, yo, who wants to use the license? He's gonna be out of this world.
Yeah, sometimes you get paid on front and the back end.
Yeah, man. And the Louis Vuitton stuff is moving crazy.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. So yeah, we gotta get him more Earn Your Leisure.
That's a fact. Make it happen, y'all. Shout out to Earners, get on it. We gotta make that happen.
All right, so that's the case study breakdown on Virgil. So the next segment we're gonna talk about multiple streams of income.
Need that.
How to get money from different avenues.
Yeah, it's important, man. You can't just have one.
Yeah.
Not in this day and age. So if you got one, you're done.
Let's do it. All right. So now we're gonna talk about multiple streams of income, right?
Man, so that is. I get that question. I'm sure you get it a bunch. I get that, especially in the education field. Teachers every day. It's like, yo, I need to make more money. How am I gonna do this? What do I do? How are you doing it? I'm like, we got something for you. Relax. We got you.
Nah, multiple streams of income is no longer option.
It's a must.
It's a necessity.
It's an absolute must, yeah.
In this world that we live in. So if you're a member of EYL University, shout out to all of our EYL
all the earners out there.
Students that's enrolled. EYL University is the dopest platform right now online. It's crazy. We did a whole course. We did an hour course on multiple streams of income that's actually out right now. So what we're going to do is try to condense this to like 15 minutes. But if you want the like full hour version, you can just check out earnyourleisure.com. We also have a course on there about how to create a podcast.
With details, product placement, all that.
Yeah, it's dope. It's dope. So yeah, this will be like the abbreviated version of, and if you want the full version, you can just check out EYL University for sure. But so when it comes down to like having multiple streams of income, right? I think it's important to first understand, and shout out to Derek Falcon, another one of our legendary episodes, that a lot of times people are under the misconception that you need like 5-7 different things, because they say the average millionaire has anywhere between 5 to 7 streams of income. So a lot of times people look at that and it becomes like overwhelming, because it's like,
how
we're so trained. The average person is just trained to work a job to get money. So now it's like, okay, I got to work 7 jobs, or I got to like create 7 totally different businesses. So I got to do like construction, plumbing, real estate. I got to be a stock market investor. I got to do all these different things. And it's like, who has enough time, right? But one thing I really liked about what Derek said, and it really resonated with us, is that you don't need multiple avenues to create multiple streams of income. You just need one lane that you do really well, and you can create multiple streams of income off of that one lane. Yeah,
it's like what we said, like we got to build a foundation. If you think in the sense of a tree, the tree is going to be the foundation of what you're going to do, right? So like from that, you're just going to start building branches from it.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're not even going to give you a case study or theory. We're going to give you the real deal.
This is ours.
Earn Your Leisure.
Yeah, this is easy. This is ours.
This is just ours. I mean, this is ours. platform and blueprint, but I mean, you know, everybody's blueprint is going to be different, but we could speak best about what we personally know, right?
Yeah.
So,
and they've been here to see it. So like y'all been here watching it, y'all seen it from January to now. We're just gonna give you really in detail like how this works.
Yeah, for sure. So the thing with Earn Your Leisure is that, all right, so Earn Your Leisure started in January of 2019, and it was a podcast, right? And it was, you know, we started the Instagram page was the first thing we did, and we launched Instagram, and we turned into like a daily discussion board, pretty much, of like different financial topics. We post different things on Instagram, and people give their feedback on it, and we do different write-ups, and it's like a whole, you know, financial board discussion on all different areas of finance, right? So, but that was all done in relationship to build the podcast, right? So we created a podcast, right? Well, we didn't know anything about it. That's another good thing about this too, is that we didn't know. We're not even on our year yet. We're
still learning.
Yeah.
We just had a phone call and we're like, yo, we're learning still.
Yeah, 11 months in, we're still learning. Yeah. So the thing with Earn Your Leisure is that, okay, so it started as just a podcast, and we had to figure out how can you monetize a podcast, because there's no blueprint on how to do it. Yeah. You just kind of figure out how you go, right? So, but now we have a few different streams from Earn Your Leisure. Like I think we're gonna talk about like 5-6 different streams that we have from Earn Your Leisure, income streams from Earn Your Leisure right now, right? So, all right. So as the podcast grew, the first thing that we started to monetize was audio. Yeah. Right. So if you listen to this, quickly, you know that, you know, we give Spotify, Anchor, from time to time, other brands, you know, it's part of the episode, right? Yeah. So those are ads that we do. And we're not doing it for charity, obviously. we get compensated for that, right? Yeah. So how you get compensated in the podcast world is what's called CPM. Yep. Right. So CPM is like per 1,000 plays, what you get. So if you get standard, the good thing with podcasts is that it's usually like standard. It's like $25, 20 to 25 is like usually standard, right? Yeah. Industry standard.
And when the platform we used was Anchor, obviously, if you listen to this, we did it on Anchor, and we didn't have to go find them. They provided us with the ads based on the audience listening. So they saw that there was 1,000 people listening to the first episodes. They sent us one ad. They see there's 4,000 people, then they sent us 2 ads. So the more people we had engaged and listening, the more ads they sent to us. And you know it. So like you hear, you got to go back and listen to the original ads. Some of the original ones are funny, man.
Man, now the crazy thing is at first I didn't even want to take the ad, because I'm like, when I saw it was $20 CPM per 1,000.
Yeah, that's how it works. Every 1,000.
So when we first started, we was averaging like 2,000 a week or something like that. So I'm like, why are we even doing this for $40? And then I read something like, just do it because it builds up over the course of time.
Perpetuity.
And it does. Yeah. I can tell you it does. And the crazy thing about it is that now with like Anchor, like it's the dynamic ads, right? So what happens is that now every time somebody listens to a podcast, we get paid. So you can go back and listen to episode 1, and as long as there's an ad placed in it, we're gonna get paid for that. Yeah. So that's pretty cool, because it's like now as our audience grows, right? Our revenue grows as well. Right. So we get paid. So that's one way how we get paid, right? And then so that was the first way how we started to monetize the podcast. And then, you know, from that we figured, okay, now we have an audience, but we always love fashion, and we always, you know, was like, okay, what's the next thing that we should do? And actually to promote the podcast as well. Yeah. And we came up with a couple of different slogans. With the slogan that really stuck and became our signature was assets over liability.
Yeah, we had, if I remember sitting down, we wrote down, like you said, let's come up with 10, I'm gonna come up with 10. And we put them out and it was like, all right, well, let's use these 3. And we had 3. So if you had the day one people, you know, when you went to the site, there was a bunch of different shirts. And as we moved on, we realized like, that's not really going to move. We stuck with 3. And the most popular is assets
over liabilities. So, and that just became our trademark. Yeah. We tried a couple of different things, but that became our trademark. And so the thing about merch, everybody sells merch. It's popular. It's like the first thing you want to do, right? Yeah. But merch can be a kind of a tricky thing. So what we use is Printful. Yeah. Right. So Printful is a company that allows you to not hold any inventory.
Yeah. It's on demand. So like you order it, they make it. It's pretty much like what we said in the last segment. They make it, they distribute it, and all we do is create the file, which is the assets over liabilities, which is ours. They print it up and they send it out to you.
Yeah, so I would say interesting business model. It's pros and cons with everything because they take a percentage, a pretty hefty percentage.
Hefty one, yeah. We're working on that.
So, I mean, we probably could make a lot more money if we just did it ourselves. But the thing about it is a lot more work. Yeah. And it's a lot more capital. It doesn't cost us anything. Right. That's the good thing about Printful is that it doesn't cost anything.
Right. We don't have to buy sweatshirts. We don't have to buy T-shirts.
Like $100 a month, I think, just to actually run the site.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's no money, there's no overhead. So as somebody buys the shirt, they print it, they ship it. It's a whole system.
It's really easy. Like literally, like we created our own store on Shopify. It goes on Printful, and we put our designs up there. And people just when they order, I remember we got our first order. I was like, oh wow, this is great. And then
it's a dope system.
It just ships to you. We don't have to store anything.
That's another thing too, especially when it comes to business. A lot of times it's like, and this there's not really no right or wrong answer on this, but especially if you're doing a lot of different things, sometimes it's better to take less money to free your time up, right? Because it's like I said, we could do it ourselves, but that's a lot more time. Like we actually have to find somebody to actually make it for us.
Print and press and all
that. We have
that.
to hold a bundle of different merch. We have to ship it. We have to track it. We have to, do all of those things. It's not, and especially as more people start to order shirts, it becomes.
It's been too much.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
So with Printful, they kind of do all of that for us. Like I said, they take their percentage for doing all of that stuff, but we still get compensated.
Yeah.
So that was another revenue. That was like the second revenue stream that we did. Right?
And then the next one was our Proud to Pay program, and that was kind of just happened in a comment. Somebody was like, "Hey, are you guys on Patreon?" And at the time, I remember I texted you. I'm like, "Yo, what is Patreon?" And then we did the research on it, and it was like, "Oh, this could be a way that we could give bonus content. We can put out different variety of things and features for our audience." And so like that became another source of income. So we created 5 different tiers.
Yeah, Patreon is a whole vibe. And you told me about Patreon. I didn't even know what Patreon was. Somebody commented. He was like, "Yo, we should do a Patreon." I'm like, "What is Patreon?" And Patreon is a platform for creatives, for people to support on a financial level, right? Yeah. And the cool thing with Patreon is that it's a real community where like Patreon, you can add different tiers to it.
Yeah.
So like we have different tiers to our Patreon, and like depending on what tier you're in, like you get ad-free episodes, you get episodes before the podcast drops, you get FaceTime conversations with us.
Yeah, those are always fun.
Yeah, the FaceTime conversations is lit. So you get direct conversations with us. Yeah. You get discounts on the merch.
Yep.
You get access to EYL University.
Yeah, that's new. So like that was one of the things, and we sent a message out. It was like, "Yo, we got something coming," and we were building it. So like now it's like now they get to see what we have building. Everybody that's in a tier 4 or 5, they get to have access to EYL University. So that makes it even dope.
Like, yeah, and this is the whole, because the whole thing with the business show is that you want to just create different ideas, because you might not be able to copy every single thing, but you want to just spark your brain. So for me, I'm always big on cross promoting, right? So I'm like, okay, look, if we got Patreon, right, and you also have to add value, like all these different revenue. I want to stress that too. Never do anything just to make money. Right. You got to have like real value. Like the merch is something that we truly believe in. Like we really believe in the merch. And I think the reason why Assets and Over Liabilities has taken off, because it's a dope slogan and it's really powerful. Yeah. In like 3 words, it really means a lot. Like it's assets over liabilities. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
that's the goal.
If you're gonna spend money to wear merch, like you might as well wear something that you like and it's stylish.
Yeah, that's and
like it's dope. Like
that was our thing. It was like, yo, if we're gonna create something that people are gonna wear, it should have a message on it, and it should be a message that resonates with our community and all communities, really. Yeah. So like that's what the intent was when we did the merch. It wasn't like let's make money. We're not a clothing brand, but we want to have a message every time we go outside, because we know people are watching.
Exactly. And also with the Patreon too, it's like, we don't want to just set up Patreon as a way for people just to support the podcast. That's like charity and an event. Yeah. We want to actually give them value as well, right? Yeah. So that's why we had the phone conversations. That's why we added free access to EYL University. That's why we access discounts on the merch. But now with the Patreon, you get discount on the merch, but it leads back to the merch.
Right.
Which is like cross promoting, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and everything always leads back to the podcast. Yeah. The podcast is the mothership, which is free, but that's the cool thing about it too, where the podcast is free, but from something that is free, we're able to create multiple different income streams where we can actually profit. So that's another thing too. A lot of times people think like just because you're not actually getting paid for something right away, or something doesn't look like you can actually make money from it, you gotta look deeper. It's not just like,
that's a fact.
Hey, you gotta go A, B, C, D, E, F. Like, you know what I mean? Like to say, okay, the podcast, the podcast is really just to get us out there as far as on our revenue. Of course, the podcast is to educate. That's most important. But as far as our revenue stream, now we can monetize the podcast, even though people don't pay for the podcast because of ads. But even if we had no ads at all, we could still monetize off of the podcast because of the visibility, and it allows us to do other things.
Yeah, and it's not like we had to create 7 different things. We still have the mothership, the tree, which is the podcast, and all these branches coming off of it. And that's true what you said. We didn't do it for money, right? So like when we had Patreon, we had like 2 members the first month, right? Next month we had 7. Like we just kept grinding, like kept putting out the content, kept putting out value, making those phone calls. Now we're up to like over 115 or something like that. And it was like just being consistent and spreading the word and giving the value. Like I think that was Max, right? He was like, yo, just give it away.
Give it away.
Just give it away.
You gotta give it away. Give it away, and then people they'll want to pay for it. They feel guilty not to. And that's why, like I said, proud to pay with Nipsey when he had his $100 mixtape.
Yep.
It wasn't so much of just him selling a mixtape for $100. It was a whole experience. You got tickets to a concert. Yep. You got merch. It was bundled together, and it was very well done. And people were proud because people want to support, but they just got to have something good that they can support. Yeah, exactly. Like nobody wants to support something that's just trash.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And then so then the next revenue stream comes via YouTube.
Yeah.
So YouTube is something that we're still figuring out. But I encourage any creative, anybody that's thinking about starting anything. You got to get on YouTube. People don't fully understand the power of YouTube. We spoke about this before, but
and that's the thing. And just be fully transparent. We didn't start on YouTube. Like
the first 7 episodes.
Yeah, 3 months
wasn't on you. People had to really convince us to get on YouTube.
Like, why y'all not there?
The first 7 episodes was just audio because it's a lot more work. Yeah. You got to film it and you got to upload it. You got to edit it. It's a whole process. But YouTube is interesting because it's like YouTube also the monetization for YouTube is you have to have, so you need 1,000 subscribers and you need 4,000 watch hours. Then you can start to monetize through YouTube Studio. So watch hours is like how many hours somebody has watched your video. And YouTube is another thing where it's like, the first YouTube check that you'll see is like, let's say, like for us, it was like $100.
We watched that. I mean, we watched that for like
$100
a month. It was like $1 a day.
Yeah. And then it's like 6 months later, we was up to like 4,000 on YouTube. So God willing, this time next year, it will be 4 times that. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? But the good thing with YouTube is like, once again, like the audio, once a video is in YouTube, especially if it's like, gets a lot of traction, it's there forever.
Yep.
So I was just telling like Alex Good Energy from Trucking, episode 39.
Yeah, shout out to Alex.
I'm like, yo, your video's gonna live forever because it has like 59,000 views right now or whatever. But a year from now, somebody types in trucking,
they're gonna find that.
They'll find that video, right? And then they watch it, and then we get paid. And the cool thing, and this is I spoke about this on a social media episode that we did, is that a lot of times people especially with like YouTube and things of that nature, numbers are not the most important thing. Numbers are not the most important thing. What I mean by that is that like our 40,000 subscribers that we have right now is probably more valuable than a lot of people that have 1 million, 2 million subscribers because our content, we get paid at a higher CPM. What that means is that like our content is clean content, is business.
And that's important.
So companies, they love that to advertise, right? It's like the business is like the number one space for advertisers. So I was speaking to somebody who has a YouTube channel, but it's a rap show, and they bring rappers on, stuff like that, So he was telling me his CPM for his show is like $3, right? $4, but he has like million subscribers. His videos get like 200,000 views, right? But he's not really making money because it's like $3, where we might get 10,000, 20,000 views per episode. We have 40,000 subscribers, which is way less than what he has, right?
Right.
But we're making more money because our CPMs could be $30, $25.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's beautiful about YouTube is that the CPM fluctuates. So like depending on the content, like a video like mobile homes, you could get maybe $45 per CPM, which is per 1,000. Or like Alex, right? You could be $47, whereas in the audio space it's just
it stays the same,
pretty standard at $25. So like that's another beautiful thing about YouTube is like it changes and depending on the content, and that's key what you said too, is having clean content. Because if we had profanity laced conversations, right, people wouldn't be putting money out to put on ads. And I think we ran into that one time where we had an episode
with Al Harrington.
We were talking about marijuana, which was a business podcast and it was a business lesson. But just the fact that we had marijuana in our title, it kind of changed.
We didn't get paid for that episode.
We didn't get paid, right.
That's something too for a lot of creators. Like I said, all of this stuff is just free information, free knowledge, because these are things that we learn. We literally learned all this stuff on the fly.
Right.
So, if you're starting a YouTube channel, if you're thinking about monetizing online, these are good things to know, because we didn't know this. Like, we didn't know that we put cannabis or marijuana in the title. Mm-hmm. That's a red flag for YouTube. The video went out, people saw it, but we didn't get paid on it.
Yeah, we got that little yellow sticker.
They're very big on that. They're very big on that industry. They've shut down pages.
Yeah,
they shut down some big cannabis pages.
We ran into somebody
600,000 subscribers, 1 million subscribers. They shut their pages down.
Yeah.
So it's important to understand what you're doing, because like you could just be doing something and not fully understand what you're doing.
Not grasping
and it's like you built up 1 million, 2 million followers, subscribers, but now it's hard for you to monetize it. Where you see somebody with 100,000, I said this on social media. I know a girl who had 100,000, 150,000 subscribers on Instagram that was getting paid $15,000 for an Instagram post. Mm-hmm. Where we know a lot of Instagram models, bartenders that have millions of followers that they can't figure out how to make money, because the only people that's going to advertise on their page is lingerie and just promoting parties.
Spirits industry.
They're limited.
Yeah.
Right? Where even like a John Henry. John Henry doesn't have that many followers. He has like 120,000 followers.
Killing.
He's making a killing. He's making a killing because it's
clean.
He got a clean look. It's, what I mean? It's just the whole package. He's very friendly to advertisers.
Yeah.
So not to say that you have to be that. I mean, you could still make money,
but just
know that. Yeah. Just be aware of it. Like, I'm not telling you to change your whole platform and to become something that you're not.
Right.
But just be aware of it.
Yeah, you should be aware, because that will be the reason why the monetization is a lot less.
Yeah.
So just know, it's good to know that.
No, that's a fact. And then we also do live events now too.
Yeah, man.
So
those are crazy.
The live events is another way how we're monetizing. But the thing, like I said, the thing about it is that we're always adding value, right? So this is a business podcast. We're never going to apologize for making money. That's the whole point. Like we should never be ashamed to be entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. But as long as you're creating value, that's the most important thing, right? So just from that's 5 different revenue streams that we named off of the podcast, right? So now we don't have to get 5 different jobs. We don't have to create 5 different businesses, even though they are kind of separate of each other, but they're all under the mothership of Earn Your Leisure.
They're all Earn Your Leisure.
And they all hover under the podcast. The podcast is what leads everything, right? We know that. Yep. And that's important too. Never go away from what feeds you. Yeah. A lot of times people get successful in one thing and then they stop paying attention to that. Yeah. Like the podcast is always going to be high quality. We're always going to do our best with the podcast, because we understand like the podcast is what got us to this point. Mm-hmm. But we can't stay limited to the podcast. Like if we did that, we'd be doing ourselves and our supporters a disservice, because that's not what we preach. Like we preach to have no limit, to expand your horizon. So if we just stayed just doing a podcast, we wouldn't be a good example.
It'd be tough.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we got to set an example. Yeah. It's like, it's more than just like, we're just not getting up here just talking about it. We actually are implementing a real business.
Yeah. And we got a few more. Like we have a few more, even in, like in the summer when we do our summer programming. That's another stream of income for us. We have a couple things that we're going to announce in the top of 2020 that we're just continuing to build off of the mothership. All Earn Your Leisure, but all things that help people. So yeah, man, we got to keep creating, and don't be surprised if you see like us doing trucking. Like, we're gonna
get a truck. We're gonna get a truck.
Like we getting all this information. Yeah. So every time we hear something and we learn, it's like, yo, we should do that.
Nah, it's a fact. We haven't talked about our book. We gotta get back to writing that book. Yeah. But the book, that's another thing
so that's like 9 now
that we're looking to launch, and we got the blueprint of the book from Ash Cash's episode, right? Episode 26. So it's like a lot of times, like when you listen to Earn Your Leisure, don't just listen and just be entertained.
It's application, man.
It's application. And like I said, like we're living proof. Like we're literally applying things that we are learning.
You know what the best part is? Like not once did you say like, I'm a financial advisor too. Like people forget that part. Like, that you're a financial advisor. I'm a teacher. But these things that we're doing, like outside of that, that's like 9 different streams right there.
You need to have like 10 different joints going because you never know.
Yeah.
You never know when something can dry up. Like, you know what I'm saying? You never know when something can dry up. So it's like, I've seen it. I learned that early on just from watching people that I grew up with, older people. And it's like, you get laid off from your job and you're screwed.
Yeah.
You got a bad month from your job and it's like, you damn near on the homeless line.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So now it's like we're having multiple streams. It gives you a cushion. It gives you a buffer. And it's like, all right, well.
You can feel it. You can feel the freedom.
You feel less pressure too.
Yeah, you can feel the freedom of it. It's like, you know what? I'm not relying on anything. I have so many things that if this doesn't work, I got this. You can feel the freedom. Like, I can feel it personally. It's like, yo, this is crazy. This is different. Like, this feels like 2019 doesn't feel like 2018. Right. It just feels different.
It does. And so that's our journey.
Yeah. And
not to say that you have to start a podcast, but it's like that's something that fit in what we were doing.
Yeah.
So it's like what fits in what you're doing.
Yeah. And on Earn Your Leisure University, I broke down how you can earn income in education. Because a lot of times I have conversations with people in my profession. They're like, yo, how do you have time? How do you have time? And I went through like 5 or 6 different things, streams of income, just from being an educator. Like, it is things that you probably are overthinking that you can do that don't require much time.
Yeah. So, all right. So yeah, that was that. And like I said, that was kind of the abbreviated version. The full version is on Earn Your Leisure University, where we kind of just dove into a lot of different things. Yeah. But I just wanted to just let people know that it's always something more. No matter what you're doing, it's always something more. And when you're looking to start a business, see if that business is scalable. Like the podcast is scalable because it's very low inventory. That's another thing too. It's very low inventory. It can reach people from New York to Australia. Yeah. We're not limited geographically. And it provides us opportunities to create multiple different launching pads.
Shout out to Derek. That was the first question Derek Falcon asked me. He walked in when we did his interview. The first thing, he sat down on my couch and was like, yo, how y'all gonna scale this? First thing he asked. I'm like, good question. And then we went into a whole conversation.
And we come up with new ideas all the time how we can scale. So like I said, that's our blueprint. But what's your blueprint, right? Like if you are a restaurant owner, how do you scale that? How do you create multiple different streams? Derek Falcon gave the blueprint for that.
Right.
But it's like if you have a gym, how do you create multiple different streams off that gym?
Right.
Like even Alex, right? He has a trucking, but he makes more money off of his portal. And now he has merch.
Yeah, shout out to Good Energy merch.
So
it's a fact.
So that's the rundown. Multiple streams of income, people. It's not something that is optional at this point in time. It's mandatory, and it's all about being creative and understanding how you can build different branches off of one tree.
Yeah, that's a fact.
So we're gonna close it out with some education as far as investing and different things of that nature.
It's gonna be fun.
All right,
it's fun.
So,
I said it's fun.
Yeah, so we're gonna close it out. We're gonna close it out with something that is easy for me.
Yeah.
Because like I said, a lot of times people don't fully understand. Like everybody thinks do the podcast full time, but
straight up,
I actually have a financial planning firm.
Yeah.
Independent firm.
Who was your first client?
You were.
Yeah, thank you.
For sure. wealth management firm. So that's what I do. Like outside of this.
Yeah.
So
that's why you don't sleep, yo.
Yeah, that's a fact. Retirement planning, investing, things of that nature. So one thing that always gets people's attention when we talk about is the self-directed IRA.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about that because we talk about real estate a lot on this show.
Yeah.
And we bring on different real estate investors and things of that nature. And we always, have to give people different options. So funding. When it comes to funding, that stops a lot of people from investing in real estate. So we, talk about 203K loans and hard money loans and conventional loans and things of that nature.
Yep.
But another way that people can invest in real estate that not a lot of people are fully familiar with is via their retirement account, right? Because if you think about it, I spoke about this before, for the average American, middle class American, lower middle class, whatever, they don't have a tremendous amount of money saved in a savings account. They don't have money. They might probably have no investment outside of like retirement. Like they don't have.
I know people straight up that don't know what an IRA is.
Well, yeah, that. But I'm just saying, as far as the money that they have saved is in retirement. So it's not uncommon for a teacher to have $500,000 in their pension plan or their 403B plan by the time they retire. Or it's not uncommon for somebody to work in corporate America for 20 years and to have $400,000 or even like $100,000 in a couple years. Like it adds up. The good thing with 401ks is that the money is taken right out of your paycheck. So it's easy. Everybody knows about it. Like when you sign up for a job, they sign you up for it. And then you work, like I said, with a union job, you have a pension. People have money in retirement accounts, long story short.
Yeah.
And that's the one place where a lot of people, that's like their only source of like real
if you
savings.
ask somebody if they're saving, they're like, yeah, I have a 401k.
Yeah. So what happens is that a lot of times what happens, I see all the time, is that people, like they might leave their job or whatever, and they want to buy a home, and they have an old retirement account, like an old 401k. And what they do is that they cash it out because that's their only real money. They cash out their 401k and they use that for a down payment, or they use that to buy a home. The problem with that is that now not only do you deplete your retirement account, but you get taxed crazy. Like if you take money out of a retirement account before 59.5, for most retirement accounts, you pay a 10% penalty, you pay state tax, and you pay federal tax. So you could be paying up to 55% of the money in taxes, right? So that's a lot of money that's you're liable for.
We had a tax issue in this house, man.
Yeah, so it's important to understand that. So a lot of times people don't fully understand that you can actually use retirement money to actually purchase property, right? So how you do that is via what's called a self-directed IRA.
So before we go there, right, because this is important, what's the difference between an IRA and a self-directed IRA?
So, all right, an IRA is what it stands for, is an individual retirement account.
Right.
I think we spoke about this in another episode one time. But so IRA can be set up two different ways. You can set an IRA up just with money out of your pocket. And like you can fund it every year. Like if you are self-employed, or if your job doesn't have a 401k, or if you make under a certain amount of money, you can just put money into an IRA every year, right? Like you put like $6,000 to an IRA.
There's a max on it?
Yeah, for the year.
Okay.
But now what's very popular is what's called an IRA rollover.
Okay.
So what happens is that now you leave your job, right? And now you have an old 401k, an old pension plan, an old 403b, whatever, TDA, whatever. And you can roll that into an IRA, right? So the reason why it's called a rollover is that it's going from what's called tax qualified vehicle to another tax qualified vehicle. You're not paying any taxes on it. It's for your retirement. Right. Only difference is that the 401k is set up by your job. The IRA is set up individually. Okay. You can set up, with a bank or through a financial advisor, or, online. There's different ways to set it up, right? So most of the time, when people do IRA rollovers, they're rolling it into what's called the traditional IRA. Okay. The traditional IRA is invested in more traditional investments.
Like stocks,
mutual funds, things of that nature. Okay. Right? So it's invested like in the stock market, in bonds, things of that nature, and it grows over the course of time. So let's say you had a job, you worked at AT&T for 15 years, you have $100,000 in a 401k. You left. So now when you leave your job, the 401k is pretty much frozen in a sense. Not frozen where it's not growing. It's still growing relative to how the investments do. But you can't borrow from it, right? You can't add money to it. You don't have any advice on it. You're not working there anymore. And a lot of times people move and they don't update their address. So it becomes difficult to manage if you're not working there anymore. So this is why the rollover is so appealing, because now you get to pick and choose your investments. You can add money to the IRA if you want. You can work with somebody that can help you out, like an advisor, things of that nature. Right. So that's what the IRA, you're just taking control over the money. So now you have it in the IRA. All right. So now, as it's in the IRA, it can be invested in, like, let's say it's invested in mutual funds, right? Or an annuity or whatever.
Those just the regular IRA.
Traditional.
Okay.
So the money's invested. You're not paying any taxes on it as long as it stays in. And it's just like how it would be with your 401k, except you're kind of picking and choosing investments for yourself. Okay. So that's the easy.
So like if I'm not picking it, then it would be a financial advisor, or like I saw like a custodian?
Most of the time, it's through like somebody that'll help you out with it. Okay. So whether that be a financial advisor, whether that be somebody at a bank, credit union, or usually you could do it yourself too. If you go online, like you can Fidelity, but a lot of time people just don't feel comfortable doing things themselves. They might want help, so somebody will help you out with it. Gotcha. And they'll kind of guide you on like what makes sense. This is a good investment, and this is the reason why, things of that nature. So that's what most people do. Like probably like 95% of the people, they'll roll their money into a traditional IRA. But another option that you have is that you can roll it into what's called a self-directed IRA. So traditional IRAs allows you to invest in traditional investments, like I just said. The self-directed IRA allows you to invest in a broad range of different things. Yeah. Everything from Bitcoin to commodities.
There's a bunch of possibilities.
All kinds of different stuff. And one of the things
I saw somebody said like you can invest in a horse holding firm. Like,
yeah, you can invest in all kinds of different things with a self-directed IRA. And one of the most popular things that people use self-directed IRAs for is real estate. So a self-directed IRA allows you to invest money in real estate, right? So what happens is that now you have that $100,000, and instead of like if you don't roll it into a traditional IRA, you can roll it into a self-directed IRA. Now that self-directed IRA, you can buy a home, or you can buy an apartment, or whatever, or use that money to buy different forms of real estate. And the money's not taxed, because the whole point of keeping it within the IRA is that you're avoiding paying tax.
Tax when you take it out, or
tax when you take it out. When you take receipt of it, we call taking receipt of the money, right? Yeah. So like when you take receipt of it, that's when the money goes to your bank account. Like when you physically receive it, as long as it's under the umbrella of the IRA, you never actually you don't have receipt of it. So you're not paying any taxes on it. That's the benefit of rolling a 401k into an IRA and keeping it in the IRA, right? You're not paying any taxes. Whenever you take money out, you're going to get taxed. If you take it out prematurely, you get a 10% penalty tax. But at any point in time, you take money out of an IRA or 401k, you pay a state and federal tax. The federal tax is what federal tax bracket you're in at that time, and the state tax is depending on what state you're in. Gotcha. And it's treated like ordinary income.
And you can borrow that at any time, but just know that there's going to be a penalty.
Borrow what?
You can borrow money from the IRA?
You can't borrow money from the IRA. You can take money once a year from the IRA, but it's a 60-day rule where you got to put the money back in.
Ooh, okay, good to know.
So what happens is that with the self-directed IRA, right, now that money stays in the IRA, but you can buy real estate. Okay. So like let's say you used $100,000 and you bought a home. You used all of it to buy a home for $100,000 in cash, right? Yeah. So now that $100,000 is pretty much like your retirement. So the $100,000 grows to $200,000 over the course of time. You're not paying any taxes as it's growing, right? So you sell that home. Now you made $100,000 profit, right? Now you put that back into the self-directed IRA. Now it's not taxable. Now you have $200,000. Now you can buy more real estate, or you can invest something else, right? Gotcha. So it's another way to invest in real estate with your retirement account, as opposed to investing with, like, a lot of times people think that they have to cash out their retirement to invest in real estate, because most IRAs will not allow you to invest in real estate except for a self-directed IRA.
All right, so what's the process of setting up an IRA? Because you're doing it yourself, I'm assuming, right? Self-directed.
Self-directed IRA, yeah. So the process to set up an IRA, period. This is the process to set up an IRA. You do an application for the IRA company, right? So now that sets up your IRA account. So like let's say you set up an IRA with Franklin Templeton, right? You're doing a application with Franklin Templeton, and you're setting up an IRA, right? Now you have an IRA number. Let's say it's 13570. That's your IRA number. You have an account. All of that stuff is set up, but it's not funded yet. Okay. So what happens is that now you have to do a conference call with the 401k company. That's usually the easiest way. You do a conference call, and usually like you do it with your advisor if you're working with an advisor. And like most companies nowadays, like Fidelity, they'll do it over the phone, where they can initiate the transfer over the phone. So you say, okay, I have an IRA. I want to roll my old 401k into an IRA. And they ask you like, who's the check made out to? You'll say like Franklin for John Doe, Franklin Templeton for the benefit of John Doe, right? And they say like, what's the address? A lot of times they'll send it directly to your house, or sometimes they'll send it to the company. But they'll cut the check. They'll do it over the phone. They'll cut the check, and then you deposit that into your IRA account. Now your IRA is funded, right? Sometimes some companies have paperwork where they have like their own paperwork, and you fill out the paperwork, you send it back to the company, and then they send the check. So it depends. Either they do it over the phone or they do paperwork. But that's how you set the IRA up. It's very simple to set the IRA up. It's two-part process. You have an application, and then you contact the company, and you tell the company where to send the money to, pretty much. That's how you set the IRA up. So when the self-directed IRA is the same process. It's just that there's less companies. There's like mostly trust companies that do this. So like with an IRA, there's a bunch of hundreds, probably 1,000 companies that you can do IRA with. It's very, very common, traditional IRA. Everything from insurance companies to investment companies to banks, credit unions. You can set up an IRA with pretty much any financial institution. You can set a traditional IRA up with, right? But there's a limited amount of companies that do self-directed IRAs.
Why is that?
Well, it's just less. You know, I guess it might be. I'm not really sure, but it probably I'm sure is more involved.
I mean, when I'm listening to it, it sounds like this is like one of them things. Like this is strictly for live men. Like this is not something that the average person.
Well, we're gonna get to that. Okay. We're gonna get to that, the pros and cons, because there's cons like everything in life. But like just a few companies, and I'm not endorsing any companies because I don't set up self-directed IRAs for people. Right. But just to kind of give you, like, if you Google self-directed IRAs, there's a lot of companies that'll come up. Yeah. So like Equity Trust, Gold Star Trust, Intrust Group, those are different companies. But like I said, you could just Google and do your own research. Yeah. Not to give those companies like any endorsement.
But that's just, they ain't cut a check.
That's just that's just a couple of companies' names.
When would be a good time to consider doing a self-directed?
So before we even get to that, how you set up the self-directed IRA is that you go online, right? Or you contact them and you set it up with them, and they'll walk you through the process of like who the check needs to be made out to. They'll give you an account number and all of that. So it's the same thing I just explained, but you have to do it yourself. Okay. As opposed to like a lot of times with the IRA, you have help because an advisor will help you out.
Somebody sitting there with you.
Yeah, most of the time. But in this process, you're going to have to like kind of navigate this yourself. So of course you want to be properly educated. Yeah, man. You want to do your research. But the thing with the show is just to provide information. It's not to say to do one thing or another. Yeah. But it's just to provide information. So there's some drawbacks with with self-directed IRA, because the thing with the self-directed IRA, like if you have a regular IRA, right? Now the money's invested in the stock market. You don't really have to do anything. Like, I mean, you can just monitor it and make sure you're in a good fund or a good investment, but it's not going to cost you like money, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you buy a real estate property, if you buy a home, right? Now you buy that home for $100,000, but it's not like you just let that go, because now the boiler might break, right? So now you got to pay money to fix the boiler. Right. Or the house might need to be painted. Now you got to pay money to fix. There's upkeep in the house. No matter what, there's still upkeep. You got to cut the grass. There's always going to be something. So it's going to cost you money. Exactly. It's important for people to understand that. Yeah. Buying a house is going to cost you money.
Tell me
there's no way around it. Yeah. So when you have your retirement account tied into that, a lot of times people, you're not investing your 401k into an IRA, a regular IRA, with the expectation that you're going to have to pay $5,000 a year just to keep up that IRA. Mm-hmm. There's fees involved with an IRA, but that's taken out of the amount. It's not like you're coming out of your pocket. Mm-hmm. With a house is different, right? Yeah. Also, a lot of times people buy homes, and the especially with investment properties, they're doing that to actually have income. So they'll buy a home and they want to have income come from that, right? To like support their lifestyle. Yeah. But any money that you generate from the self-directed IRA property has to go back into the self-directed IRA. If it doesn't, then you get taxed on it. Mm. So that's also important for people to understand. It's more of a long-term play. Yeah. So like I said,
so that's not include, like, obviously your primary residence, I'm assuming.
Primary residence what?
When you're investing in the real estate, or could it be?
Nah, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a primary residence. Okay. It could be a rental. It could be a primary. It could be different things. But it's just like all things in life, you want to put together a game plan. Right? You want to put together a game plan. You want to be fully knowledgeable. But like I said, the whole point of the podcast is just to give information.
Yeah, I'm learning right now.
and then from the information, then you can decipher and say, okay, this makes sense. But a lot of times we're forced into doing things because we don't know. Mm-hmm. So for most people, the self-directed IRA probably wouldn't be the best fit because there's more work involved, everything that I just named. But in some cases, it could potentially make sense. So just wanted to let people, I spoke about that in a few different settings, like live settings, and it always gets a good reaction. So I wanted to cover that in a podcast, and I knew that, today, obviously, that we didn't have a guest. I thought it would be a good time to actually cover that topic, since we talk about real estate so much.
Shout out! I want to thank you for coming, man. This was this has been a learning experience. Like, just when you think you know somebody,
that's a fact. Follow me on the gram.
Well, can you give everybody? That was great, man. And like I said, obviously we talk every day, but we don't have in-depth conversations like this. So like when I was preparing for this, I'm like, I have questions, because it's like I don't know these things. Like, this is your expertise, so this is dope that we got to do this like that.
Yeah,
this is like our 10 question segment that we have.
For sure. Like I said, it's just little tidbits. I think that's something that we want to try to just throw little gems in there on the podcast every once in a while. like from your area of expertise or my area of expertise. Like we can do like one per episode, like, you know, once a month, something like that, where you can just kind of like little tidbits, little financial tidbits to kind of help people out in their day-to-day life. And I think that's something that could be beneficial.
Yeah, man. I'm sure that people are going to take a lot from this.
Hopefully, for sure. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a good nostalgia.
And what happened to the Nas intro? Listen, man, if y'all listening to us right now, we've covered licensing and trademarking. So that you can read between the lines. We love Nas.
Shout out to Escobar.
That is who I wanted to be when I was 11 years old. So we love Nas. We just we couldn't figure out how to get the music there.
We gotta get Nas on the podcast.
That's a fact.
Nas is doing all kinds of different things in the venture capital space right now. So we gotta get him on the podcast. But before we go, once again, reminder, DC, pop out on us, man. We got crazy. Saturday is going to be Rashana Scott, Mobile Home Investors, and Wall Street Trapper. Sunday, our very first live podcast at Capital One Arena with Max Maxwell, Ash Cash, Derek Falcon from Homemade. Then we got a networking event after that. Then we got the game, the Wizards Clippers game. Everybody that comes to the podcast has tickets to the game.
And then Sunday night, DC, it's on y'all. Y'all got to tell us where to go.
Park. I think Park is
what we had it?
Yeah, that's what I think. Park is the vibe. So DC, I can't wait to touch the town, man. I'm gonna come a little early, actually. Run down there. Run around. Yeah, I'm gonna run around DMV for a little bit. Yeah. And EYL University.
Yeah, shout out to everybody on EYL University. Everybody's tuning in. All of our guest webinar hosts. We got the Credit Dude. We had Sabine. Obviously, we have Matt. They're doing a tremendous job. We actually did two webinars ourselves. Andre Hatchett, shout out to him. He did the mobile notary. It's amazing, man. Like every week we're learning so much more. So shout out to everybody that is a member of EYLU, and shout out to everybody that's on Patreon, as we mentioned earlier. That's our Proud to Pay program. And I just want to give a quick shout out to some of our new members. K Dean, who's a Tier 4 member, so you're gonna have access to EYL University. Dwayne, who's a new member, a Tier 4 guy, so he'll be getting EYL University. And Samia, we spoke to her. Remember a few months back we spoke to Samia? She actually upgraded her tier, so she went from a 1 tier, now she's at Tier 4 now. So she's gonna have access to EYL University. And John, he's a new member. He actually just joined as we came on to do this episode. So shout out to everybody on Patreon.com. That's our Proud to Pay program. We already explained how it works. 5 different tiers. Each tier has a different thing. And now 4 and 5, you have access to EYL University. So take advantage of that. And like we said, most importantly, man, you're going to get the information, but the application is definitely up to you. So make sure you take advantage of that. Yeah. And our merch, man. Shout out to everybody that's supporting the merch.
The merch, hoodies. We both got the hoodies out right now.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be dropping some new merch soon.
EYLU.
A whole new collection. But EYL University is something that we're really excited about because it's an online learning platform, but it's different because it's not just like courses, it's Zoom classes. So these are like real, like we have different speakers from everything from 2 or 3, like the same podcast people that we have, like they like give, and even more. Yeah. They do classes for us. And we do a class also.
Yeah, when you watch the podcast, it's not live, right? So it's tough to, when you have a question, I know a lot of people pause the video or pause the audio and like write down, like they had a question, like EYL University, you could just literally raise your hand and have that question answered. So it's interactive. So make sure that if you're on EYL.com, go to EYL University and see what it's all about.
Nah, it's a vibe. It's a whole vibe. EYL University is new wave. The coolest way to learn on the internet right now. It's dope. It's just dope all the way around. So I'm really excited about that. And that's what we're pushing right now. And also Jay-Z. That's our guy.
Y'all know that.
Y'all know.
Since we've been doing this, y'all know that.
Yeah. So the book tip of this week is Jay-Z Made in America by Michael Eric Dyson. Michael Eric Dyson's interesting. He did his book on Nas. Yeah. He like breaks down like these lyrics and it's like hip-hop. He's kind of like what we do. We need to get him on the podcast. Actually.
Yeah, he's in DC too.
Yeah, he breaks down like hip hop and then like pop culture. It's like a whole vibe that he does. Yeah. So he just did the Jay-Z book. That's his latest.
Yeah, it was dope because Jay actually allowed him to use some of the lyrics in the book. So it was dope that he used them and did a bunch of chapters on them. So check that out for sure.
Yo, there you have it, man. Another one in the books. Ernest. We love you forever, man.
That's a fact.
Thank you for rocking with us. We'll see you next week. Peace.